For far too long, the sabotage of African sports has been treated like a conspiracy. Whispers among stadium corridors, hush-hush conversations amongst us who are in the business of sports, and of course frustrated runs from fans. Last year during CHAN, I started the series called African Sports Special. This was my way of being able to debunk to all of you, my followers, and people who watch my videos about the business of sports and specifically the business of football and how certain decisions that are made in boardrooms fully affect African football, and most people did not know how decisions that are being made inside a FIFA boardroom by Europeans fully affects the decisions that are coming down to African football. One of the conversations that we had extensively was in regards to the competition CHAN and AFCON as well. One of the things I touched on was the fact that CHAN, being held in East Africa for the very first time, changed the paradigm shift of what CHAN was seen as, which was a non-entity competition. But when it came to Kenya, it became something huge. And one of the things I really remember so much speaking about was that was going to have a ripple effect. Now, do you remember when I said this? So let's talk about the behind the scenes, the business of football, the paradigm shift that CHAN 2025 has caused, not just for Africa, but on a global scale. Here's the thing, I have my notes because I just needed to make sure that I was giving you 100% accurate information when I am doing this video. Now, a lot of Africans actually do not know or realize there was a major global shift that was brought by because of CHAN 25. An estimated 86% of Kenyans are recorded to watch European Premier League. A 55% of Africans are estimated to watch Premier League. Now, this is a huge audience for the European football viewership. And we all know viewership equals to money. So with that estimated, between 2022 and 2025, broadcast rights from Africa, also considered international broadcast football rights, were worth 5.6 billion euros. And this is minus the merchandise going to the Africans who go to Europe to watch the games and etc. This is the amount of money that is leaving Africa, or should be in Africa, but is going to Europe. Therefore, Africa as a continent is of value. CHAN flipped the script. Now, an estimated global 40 million people actually watched the competition. This was people who barely knew what the competition was about, joined in the conversations online, had no idea what CHAN was, but because of the excitement that was being brought by the East Africans and of course Kenyans who are on the majority, 40 million people were able to actually watch this game this entire month. It is estimated that 95% of East Africans watched CHAN, which means, if you understand it, the whole of August, 95% were watching CHAN. Remember, 86% of Kenyans watch EPL. So for them, there was a very big shift at the number of viewership that was actually watching EPL, which actually started on the 15th of August, because all of us were actually focused on what was happening in East Africa in terms of African football. This was inclusive of the fact that it was the loudest in social media. It trended the most the whole month, which also means when EPL is supposed to be trending, CHAN was trending 3 times more. But then again, we all know Kenyans on social media, we are loud. So what does that mean? And I'm going to talk about the power shift and the panic. For the first time, an African competition that literally was considered a non-competition to begin with, because I don't think you guys realize that CHAN was never really considered a major competition. threatened the European monopoly when it comes to football attention. This was supposed to be a test try for East Africans to see if we were able to successfully hold AFCON, but instead we outdid ourselves and had the whole world talking about CHAN. This is the reason as to why we ended up with certain elites coming to East Africa, changing their schedules and coming to Kenya for the finals. Kindly note, they were not here for a friendly visit. They were here for threat assessment. I was talking about threat assessment. In another forum, I said there's going to be a high probability that CHAN is going to either be scaled down, taken to a country that barely has a lot of buzz, or highly likely it's going to be cancelled. And the reason as to why I said that, it was because for people to come in for threat assessment, you're coming to see, when you're looking at online and everybody is having the conversation of what is this game, you want to tell me there's a competition specifically for Africans who are not on the elite, on the super elite side, but there's a transition competition. Why haven't we heard about this? We want to see more about this. And immediately after that, there was the conversation of when's the next one, which country is holding. I knew for a fact that they could not let the momentum of CHAN to continue.
Couple of things. One, CHAN is cancelled. The Championship of African Nations, which was for locally based players, is done, it's gone, it's dead. In its place will be the African Nations League, a new tournament that will be a mirror of the UEFA Nations League.
And there you have it. The announcement came that CHAN was officially cancelled. It is the most annoying thing that to be able to realize that the decisions that are made away, this was a competition for our junior people. This was a competition for our young people. This was a competition for our non-elite people. It has been in existence for a while, but the one time it picked momentum, it picked conversation, everybody was talking about it, and it ended up affecting the European revenue. Guess what happened? CHAN was cancelled. Now, apparently CHAN is going to be replaced by some other league. But here's the thing. How do you replace something that's already existing and currently now created a buzz to people who are now asking, when is the next one? We want to see the next one. Each country is hosting the next one, by something that you've not started. And when the president had the conversation yesterday with the journalists during a press conference, he said that this competition that is going to be replacing CHAN is going to start in a couple of years. Really? Now, as we were still on that, another journalist in the press conference brought in a conversation in regards to AFCON coming to East Africa. Now, this is where I want you guys to pay attention. You see, when a European asks a certain type of question, and everybody looks at him as who he is, it's going to be considered the R word. People are going to say this is very, this is a very colonizer of them. So what do Europeans do? They use the African person to ask a question. Now, this particular journalist asked this question, and when I listened to it, I realized this is not a question that was directed to the Africans, because we Africans, we know better. This was a statement that he was making directed to the visitors who are supposed to be coming to East Africa for AFCON next year. Now, listen to the question, and then let's talk about it.
Now the next one is going to 3 East African countries where I already have been. No road within the countries. Some of my colleagues from East Africa told me from one country to another one, it will take you 2 days to drive. Then my biggest worry, and many are worried, are we not going to lower the standard by going to East Africa, or what is the solution forward? Because we've seen, we are in Morocco. The AFCON was supposed to be in Guinea Republic. Because they were not ready, it was moved to Morocco. And this 24-nation AFCON, I think in Africa, maybe 4 or 5 countries have the proper infrastructure to host it. Is there any possibility that it will be taken away from those three countries or postponed again? That's my question.
Mamadou Gaye from Abidjan is the man who asked that question. He is a journalist. And keep in mind the buzzwords that he used. It takes 2 days to drive from Kenya to Uganda or Kenya to Tanzania. Of course, us as East Africans, we know that is a lie. And at the same time, we also know you can fly from Kenya to Tanzania and Uganda at any time. Tanzanian Airways, Kenya Airways, and Uganda Airways exist, and they all have very favorable costs when you're moving around East Africa. But at the same time, he also added, will it lower the standard of AFCON? Surely, coming to East Africa for the very first time, according to him, will lower the standard of AFCON. The three countries that already held the most successful CHAN in the history of CHAN, make that make sense. And of course, the very most important question that was there was, are we going to remove it from East Africa, or are we going to postpone it? Now, do you remember when I said this? Worst case scenario, they're going to come up with an excuse to either ban Kenya so we'll not be able to host, or they're going to find a particular, like they will probably strip us of hosting rights and send it to Rwanda. Or Kenya, Tanzania and Uganda be able to hold it alone. Now, this is maybe not going to happen, but as Kenyans, we also need to be prepared just in case it happens. Being able to spot the patterns a few months ago, even before they started to unravel, is quite interesting on my end, because for me, I get to realize that the business of sports hasn't changed at all, and especially for the African continent. Now, just yesterday, when we were listening to the president of CAF really emphasize strongly that the competition that happened, the AFCON that happened in Morocco, is one of the best competitions ever done, for me, creates a certain narrative and conversation, and especially as an East African and as a Kenyan. And to me, I hear it as someone telling us, do not outdo this. Do not outdo the Morocco AFCON. And why is that? Because remember, AFCON is being moved from a 2-year schedule to every 4 years. So we need to be able to be the unfortunate people to crush it and make that decision possible. Because if we outdo ourselves, people are going to complain as to why it is moving to every 4 years instead of the every 2 years. Always remember, when it comes to global football, decisions made in boardrooms that even Africans are always outnumbered affect us significantly. That's all I wanted to say in today's video, and that was my analysis of what has happened in the last couple of months since I started African Sports Special. I hope you guys are able to see the patterns. I hope you're able to actually follow the trends and truly be able to raise your voices as Africans, to be able to protect the one thing that we love most, and that is our football. Europeans make decisions for us all the time, and they affect us significantly. And every time we turn a blind eye or act like we don't know, guess what happens? Our players are the ones that suffer. See you next time.